Okay, so we will start. Welcome everybody, welcome back to the second lecture of María Becerra. I should mention in advance this time that the talk is being recorded and also the discussion, so that you know. Okay, so I introduced Maria last time. I hope this is okay if I don't do it again. We are now moving on in the topic of Andean metallurgy, and Maria will talk today about the pre-Columbian mining and the metallurgy in the extreme extreme northwestern Argentina highlands. So, please.
Thank you, Sabine. Well, thank you all for coming. It's a pleasure to be here again. Well, last time I talked about these ritual offerings for beads and crushed minerals, and it was more like the lapidary part of tradition. And now I will concentrate on the mining and metallurgical activities or evidence of that in the same area of the extreme northwestern Argentina. This I will repeat because it's important for you to know that all the work I show, it's individual, but it's framed in a team of archaeologists, and a part of what I am going to talk about is really a collective project that we have since 2004. So these are the people, this project, it's a group of archaeology and ethnohistory of the North Puna in Argentina, and it's led by Carlos Angiorama. And all these people are working with me for more than 20 years, and I'm working with them. So this is Josefina, Marco, Silvina, Lucrecia, Mirela, and Valeria. And this is what I'm going to present. As I said last time, this is part of a fellowship I had here at the Deutsches Bergbau Museum. It was supported by the Alexander von Humboldt Stiftung, and I was welcomed by Sabine and her group, and also by all the people in the lab. Part of them are here, and so I'm extremely thankful for this welcome and this reception of this project that was precisely studying or beginning to study the provenance and circulation of copper during Pre-Columbian times in the northwest of Argentina. And now I'm here, as most of you have heard, because we managed to have this research group linkage program for 3 years to connect the Bochum with the Museum of La Plata in Argentina, and these are the people who are involved in this project. And this project is, as you can see here, weaving knowledge, copper provenance and circulation in the Pre-Columbian Southern Andes through collaborative approaches and exchange between Germany and Argentina. So I am really, I want to thank all the people here for accepting and being receptive of these projects, but also to Alexander von Humboldt Stiftung that has allowed me to be here in 2023 and also now. So, given this introduction, I will go again to the area. As I have said the last time, I study the Andes, and the Andes have, they are very rich in copper deposits, and also in arsenic and nickel, and also tin deposits that are here. And this is very important, these black areas in the south of Bolivia and the extreme northwest of Argentina, and also in the middle of the northwestern Argentina, in this area, more or less. And so this is a very promising area for studying copper metallurgy, and as I have said the last time too, the metallurgy and the tradition, the metallurgical tradition in the Andes was based in the copper and its alloys. And, well, this is the area we call the Northwestern Argentina, and that's the area I am going to refer now. So these are some of the metal objects that that were made, that were produced during pre-Columbian times in northwestern Argentina. This is the oldest one that was found in a site in the northwestern Argentina, and it's dated in 3,000 years before present. And the others have different chronologies, but I wanted just for you to know which kind of objects we can find in archaeological sites in the northwestern Argentina. And these are some very special objects that were produced in the northwestern Argentina and that circulated even in other countries as far as in Peru, in some places that were Inca in the 14th century and the 15th century. You can find some of these very special plaques and discs that were produced in the northwestern Argentina. And the alloys that were used were, of course, unalloyed copper, but also bronze, arsenical copper, and sometimes copper and antimony, and copper and lead, and sometimes copper, arsenic tin, or copper, arsenic tin and nickel, and these variations. So, given the archaeological work that has been made in the northwestern Argentina since the beginning of the 20th century, archaeologists have pointed out certain areas that have evidence of metallurgical production. So these would be like the main centers of metallurgical production in different times. The earliest ones are here in the center of northwestern Argentina, in Catamarca, in these two areas, and the later ones are here, and this has also evidence of Inca metallurgical production or Inca-controlled metallurgical production, this Humahuaca ravine, and this place here in San Juan, that is almost the extreme south of the northwestern Argentina. So, what were the potential ore sources areas? Because in these places, some of them have copper deposits or tin deposits, but not all the areas. And based in the geological literature, historical documentation, which were the mines that were exploited at the beginning of the Spaniard conquest in Argentina, the Archaeological Service, and the study of trade and interregional networks, archaeologists have proposed some areas like the potential ore sources. But we don't have yet a very clear evidence of this, and that's why we wanted to begin this project of provenance studies in northwestern Argentina. And one of these areas that could have been supplying copper or tin, gold or silver to the other areas in the northwestern Argentina was this one here, and it's the one that we have been talking about last lecture, and it's the area we are studying for more than 20 years now. And this is the extreme northwestern Argentina in the high plateau, and this is the area. This is the area that Carlos Angiorama worked for his thesis, undergrad thesis, and the doctoral one in these two areas, first in Alamito and then in Quebrada de Humahuaca and in Humahuaca Ravine, and he started a project in 2004 trying to see what was happening here, the area that could be given, be the one that gives metal to these other areas. And we follow him. And this is the area I was talking about. This is how it looks. It's a very high plain with some hills, as you could see last time, some valleys, but this is a plain that it's around 3,000 meters above sea level, and some areas can be even 4,000 meters above sea level. It's very high, but it's plain, and it has what it's important for us, that it has very good resources, mineral resources. You can find some salt areas, you can find in some areas obsidian, and you have the 4 minerals or metals that were used during pre-Columbian times. Copper minerals, you have tin minerals, as cassiterite, you have gold, and you have silver. That's why it was a very interesting place to start thinking of pre-Columbian mining and exploitation. But what we saw is that during our first service and studying the historical documentation, that what is more visible nowadays is the evidence of colonial mining, especially, as you may know, for silver and for gold. That were the metals that mattered for the Spaniards when they arrived in this area. So this was very clear. There was a very important colonial mining exploitation, and what we could see through the years and through the combination of archaeometrical, historical, and archaeological investigation was that in the 17th century, when the Spaniards were trying to get into the northwestern Argentina, you could see the beginning of mining exploitations there. And you can see some parts here in the more extreme part of the area that it's, you can see like yards for working, for selecting gold minerals, for grinding. You can see also some like little towns that nowadays the team is seeing that they were pre-Columbian, and now we see a mixture of pre-Columbian and colonial architecture there. And so you can see that the settlement of this European people were here, and were also in the middle of this area, in this place, Rinconada, Pan de Azúcar, this area that you can see now, a mining town that was built above the shift, the mine, and also part of a very early church. And you can see also that some earliest exploitation was here also in this area, that now this architecture that you can see here is from later periods, but the documentation is showing that the exploitation began also in the 17th century. And here this is a very nice map. As you can see, it's the other way around that we see it now in the maps. And here it says Valle Rico, that it's a rich valley. And you here can see a rich mine, Mina Rica, that it's Cochinoca, that it's this part. And we suppose this is Rachaite, this mine. So people were drawing this area, and they were showing that it has mine, and the Spaniards were settling there for the gold and the silver. And in the 18th century, what we can see is that these mines, these areas, are still being exploited, but this we can see here the exploitation, the treatment and smelting of silver ores. With possible, this could be what we know in the Andes as ingenio, this place where the amalgamation process was being carried out for the silver benefit, and the use, as you can see here too, the use of reverberatory furnaces for smelting silver and lead ores. Here you can see also the settlements of new towns for exploiting gold as placer and also as veins. So all the landscape is full of evidence of this mining activity. And it is also interesting that these furnaces that we find here this is Fundiciones 1 y 2, where we have found 4 furnaces, and in Fundiciones 1 and 6 in Fundiciones 2. These are installations prepared for benefiting galena with silver. And these type of furnaces are very common in other areas of the south of Bolivia, and as the ones that you can see here. Very small, but they are here, and as you can see, with some different of buildings, the furnaces, but the structure, this idea of a fire, a box, a chamber and a chimney is almost the same. It has some difference, some holes that are in another place, but the same type of furnace that it's, we propose that specialists and knowledge are circulating between different mining centers in this area, and they are building and using the same type of furnaces. So to sum up, we know that the conquerors went to this area in search of a new Potosí, a new place that they could find a very rich mine as Potosí. This area never reached that quantity of that amount of silver or of gold, but mining was important for people, and it generated the movement of people, of goods, and of technical knowledge, as I have said, since the beginning of the 17th century. That it's very early for the area of this northwestern Argentina, that it was called the Tucumán. What we can see as very clear changes between the Pre-Columbian and the colonial times is the installation or the founding of mining towns. Of course, the indigenous population control, indigenous population were moved to places, to special indigenous towns, and they were also incorporated to the colonial economical circuits, mostly providing especially the llamas and other goods for Potosí or other important mining centers in the south of Bolivia. In the sites, we can find new materials, of course, glass, iron, and brass that were not present in previous settlements. And what is also interesting is that, for example, as you can see here, this is a pin that is exactly like the ones, these topos or pins that were used here for the clothes, and it's exactly like Pre-Columbian one, but it's made of brass. And this was made during colonial times. Brass was not very usual in like a Pre-Columbian alloy. And the continuities, well, this kind of production or this type of artifacts, as I said, but also if you see the more countryside, the rural environment of this landscape, it stays quite the same until the beginning of the 18th century. We cannot distinguish in some cases the architecture from Pre-Columbian to colonial times. People still make their houses the same way, not in the mining towns, but in this rural landscape. And the manufacture of pottery is quite the same, and they keep doing some ritual practices as the one we talked last time, but also some religious practices using like caves in the mountain where they did some human, the funerary context, they keep doing the same, but you can see that they use like offerings or some iron knives or some crosses, like Catholic crosses, but they do the same type of activity. So, I have spoken about colonial mining, but what happens in pre-Columbian times? Because that was our first question. What happens? This was an area that was providing mineral to others that were exploiting the minerals, the ores during pre-Columbian times. What we have seen so far in the field is that gold was exploited during pre-Columbian times, at least in two areas. This area that, as you may remember, we have evidence of colonial in the 17th century, also in the 18th century, and this site, Timon Cruz, has also evidence of occupation and mining activities from the 9th century AD. And this, we can see it because it's surrounded by areas of where placer mining was carried out, but also because of the finding of this donut shaped maize that are in general linked to agricultural practices and to break the soil. But in this case, there's no agriculture here. The only reason they could have so many of these mazes, and they, as you can see, they were making them there, because here you have one that it was broken, but it didn't have the hole in the middle. So they were making these mazes there, and they were removing the soil for finding gold. And one thing that is very interesting from this site is that we have, well, different chronologies from the 9th century, 14th to 15th century, Inca times. This structure is very similar to one that is from an Inca site in the north of Chile, linked also to mining activity. And we also have this architecture dated for the 17th and the 18th century. What we see here is what we are beginning to understand is that there are some difference in the mode, in the way they construct the architecture, the enclosures. So we are thinking that this is a seasonal site for mining in the summer, where they could have water, but also that different groups could be going to this place from different different groups, indigenous groups, that meet there or not, but they go at this place and they build their houses in a different way, in a very, like, identifying themselves. So this is a hypothesis, we are working on this, but this is a very interesting site. And the second site we have identified, but we need to study in depth, is Cochahuayma. That it's a place where you can see the gold exploitation, and you can also see architecture that is clearly Inca. So in these places, we know that the Inca, in the conquest of the Northwest Argentina, were settled in this case, previous mining camps, and in this, we don't know yet, but they are exploiting in these places the gold. We don't know anything about the silver yet, but what we want to know is about the copper and the tin, because, as I said, this part has tin sources, and the tin sources are not so distributed in the northwest of Argentina or in Bolivia, or, well, it's not, there's no tin source in the north of Chile, and the predominant alloy for pre-Columbian times is tin bronze. So this is a very interesting area to study. So, as I said last time, we have found the use of copper for these ritual offerings, we have identified malachite, chrysocolla, brochantite, well, turquoise, and we have also identified, this is in the ritual areas, these offering pits, and also in the sites. We have identified malachite and brochantite, and those minerals are, well, with the exception of turquoise, these are very good ores to smelt and to obtain copper, metallic copper. So what have we done over these years? Of course, led by Carlos Angiorama, we have been doing fieldwork, service, the identification of mining and metallurgical production sites, as I have already detailed, and we have also studied some context of copper use. I have been working in the museum collections to study metal and mineral finished objects, and we have been doing since 2023 experimental work to understand and to reduce different copper ores, and this was thanks to the collaboration with Léa Chanal, Guillaume Sarrat, and Florian Tericheol from the CNRS in France. And we have been doing, of course, laboratory analysis, and this was made in Argentina and, of course, here, as I will show you now. So we are trying to cover all these like very important steps and areas of work just to combine them and try to understand the copper production and the use and provenance aspect. So what we know about copper metallurgy in this area. We have found, recorded in museums and also during our fieldwork more than 200 metal objects. They are very diverse. We have found sheets for pendants, diadems, beads, and other body adornments, needles, chisels, awls, knives, dummies that are other kind of knives with something to hold, topus, these pins that I have shown you, and these plaques. And we have also recorded in the museum collections as this ingot that Erik von Rossem found in the Sweden fieldwork they carried out at the beginning of the 20th century in the area, and also that it's copper, or almost pure copper, and these quills and lamps that we have found in some of the residential sites in the area. The compositions are, some are gold and gold-silver copper alloys, silver and silver copper alloys, unalloyed copper, copper and silver alloy, bronze, arsenical copper, and for colonial time, brass and lead. But we have not found furnaces, we have not found crucibles, and no copper mines so far with pre-Columbian evidence of mining. So, where this copper came from? Before going into the analysis we have carried out, it's important to understand that that it's a different situation from the ones that you may know from Europe or Asia, that provenance analysis was not very common. It was not developed fully in the Andes. And in fact, the only work for pre-Columbian times is the one of McFarlane and Lehmann in 2016. The work started way before, in 2006. Heather Lehmann was talking about this analysis. And the thing is that, as Killick said, Killick and collaborators, the Andes could be defined as the less promising areas for lead isotope analysis. And this has to, it's explained because the geological formation do not have a very, were formed more or less at the same time. especially if you think north to south. So it's very difficult to distinguish from one group of deposits to others. Nevertheless, what McFarlane and Lehmann, based on the geological formations, the geological ages, and all the analysis, the lead isotope analysis of different ore deposits could say about it is that they have defined 4 geographically distinct ore lead isotope provinces, the ones that you can see in red, in pink, and in blue, and this yellow one, and a 5th one that is this, the green one, that it's a compositional group which is not defined geographically, but it does not define a geographically coherent province, but you can see it distributed in different parts of the Andes. And when you see this map, what is clear is that you can see some difference in the lead isotope signatures of the ores, not south to north, but west to east or east to west. And as you may remember from last time, this is the movement of goods ores that we were talking last time, that the most predominant movement was from east to west and the other way around. So in the case of northwestern Argentina, we can see that most of the mines are located in this blue province, but we can distinguish them from the north of Chile. And we can also distinguish between different group of mines of ore deposits inside this province. So we have some mines that are, or divisions that are here in the lowest part of this very big province. We have this very defined group of Mesozoic ore deposits, and we have what she calls tertiary or Cenozoic mines that are here in the upper end of the province. So even though we cannot distinguish like very specific mines, we can say, or at least exclude some sources from others. And this is important to understand the circulation of copper during pre-Columbian times in this region, at least. So what we did was, select some samples that I will show and apply some analysis, lead isotope analysis and trace element analysis that were carried out by Moritz Jansen and Michael Bode here, and we compare them with ore deposit lead isotope databases that were published, and now they are currently in the TerraLead database. So what we did was to make some graphics with the databases that we have, and we added some data from 3 mines that are here in the northwest, in Salta and in Catamarca, because these were mines that were also possible ore sources for copper metallurgy. And so we could see this distribution I was talking about, this province 3A, that is from the highlands, that you can see this group of mines, these ones and these ones, and also you can see this province 1, that it's part of the north of Chile and Famatina here in northwestern Argentina, and other mines like the ones we sampled that are here, that is in Puna of Salta and in Catamarca. So we can at least distinguish these groups of mines. What we did was to analyze samples from these 4 sites in the northwestern Argentina. Finispatria, that is a permanent residential site. It's a semi-conglomerate, and it's next to water and agricultural lands. We excavated the garbage area there, and the occupation goes from the 1145, yes, 145 years to 635 years antes del presente, before present, that would be a B. This is in Spanish, sorry. And it has a more intensive occupation during the 13th century AD. And it was abandoned before Inca times. And here, as I already mentioned, in Timon Cruz, we sampled these metal objects and this lamp, a copper lamp, in this site that I have already detailed, the evidence of gold ore, that it was done at least from the 900 AD, and it has a long occupation from late Inca and colonial times. Then Moreta, that it's local and that has local and Inca settlement there, architecture, and also this site here in the hill, a fortified area, and there we have found also minerals, lamps, and also finished metal objects. And finally, in Pucará Rinconada, that it's a conglomerate here that also was inhabited in late times and in Inca times in the area, and there we have sampled a metal sheet and metal lamps and minerals. So the metal objects are mostly made of bronze, and some of they are made of unalloyed copper, and the minerals were these didn't have any copper, and the others are malachite, brochantite, and sometimes malachite and brochantite together. What can we see from the results, the lead isotopes analysis? What we see is that, first, that none of the metal objects overlap this mine here in the bottom, that is the Ordovician group, and this is a mine, Cobres, that it's one of the few mines in the northwest Argentina that has evidence of Pre-Columbian mining, and it was studied by Pablo Cruz and his team. And so we could exclude this mine as a possible source, at least for these metal objects we have analyzed. What we see is that most of the metal objects and ores that we have analyzed overlap in this 3A province, in this highland area, and some of them are in the same province, but some of them overlap this middle center and some this upper end area of the province, and some of them they do not match any known mine, but they are in this area of the province 3A. And this is Cobres, the mine I already said that we excluded it, and these are the other mines that we have lead isotope data. As you can see, and it's very different from the other contexts you may know, we don't have much information, lead isotope information. There are very few. In fact, in all northwestern Argentina, in all Argentina, we only have data for 11 ore deposits, of copper ore deposits. But these mines that we know, they are in the area or very near the area, and they have minerals that could have been the sources used for metallurgical purposes. And these are located in the Puna Jujuy, Providencia, Purísima, Runi Cruz, and also in this area that is this Quebrada Humahuaca Valley, that is very near the area and very well connected. We also have this mine that is Taca Taca, that it's this yellow, this density yellow one, and this mine, you can see that there are two samples that overlap this area, that it's 3B. It's this not geographically defined province, but it's it's these samples are overlapping, and they are not the metal objects, they are the malachite and the brochantite that were found in one site. And this is important because these samples also matches the mines in north of Chile. So this would be the only samples, these minerals, that could have another origin, another source than the metal object that we have seen. So maybe it was too fast, but just to sum up about the metal samples, what we see is that most of them, well, all of them, overlap with ore deposit within this province, 3A, the one in the highlands. We can see that likely they were using multiple local or nearby sources within this province, but they were not the same group of sources. We cannot distinguish so far. I know the samples is little, but it's what we have so far. We cannot distinguish any changes through time, even during the Inca times. And what we can see is that the copper ores from northern Chile, the ones you can see here, Cochahuá, Ciélaga, Chuquicamata, that they have a very strong evidence of exploitation during pre-Columbian times, and even the Cobres deposit in the Puna of Salta were highly unlikely to be the sources for metal production. We don't see that in the signatures of the lead isotope signatures of the metal objects. And this is something that we see not only for the metal objects in the Puna of Jujuy, but also for other regions. We have done a very exploratory survey, and we have analyzed 35 more or less samples from other areas of the northwestern Argentina. And as you can see, all the metal objects lie here in this 3A province and not here. And this, except of the metals that are here, that were found in this area of northwestern Argentina, that is Zahuil and Belém Valley. These are the only objects, metal objects, that lie here in this 3B province, or even in, if you see here, it's Copiapó. Copiapó, it's a very also rich, copper-rich area, and archaeologically there is evidence also for mining exploitation. And if you see the lead isotope signature of the Copiapó mining area, you can see that these Belém and Zahuil samples lie here. Well, this is Tinogasta. So, and this is very close. And in fact, the researchers working in Copiapó, that are Teresa Plaza and Francisco Garrido, are thinking that this may be like a center of mining and metallurgy, and that the metal goes to northwestern Argentina. So this could be, but also the local mines also have a very, like Tacataca or Cuevinca Viejo or other mines that are here also have, it's a very complicated area because the ore deposits overlap between this province 1, that is Chile, and the province 3B. So it's very difficult to say if they are coming from Chile or if they are coming from more local mines, but what we can say is that they are not from 3A provinces. So this area have another source, but not the other areas that we have sampled in the northwestern Argentina. So, mineral samples. This is also a very small sample, but what we can see is that there are some minerals that could be the source for metal objects, but there are some other minerals that are from another province, probably from Chile or from the Puna of Salta, and maybe because they are not the same that the metal objects, they could be part of this crush mineral ritual practices and this movement of minerals that come from Chile to Argentina. And we can say that Axel Nielsen work in the analysis of mineral for campaments sites for these caravan herders also gave the same results, this province 1 mineral. So we can say that it's very possible that we are facing two distinct spheres of copper circulation. The ones that goes with this ritual activity for lapidary manufacture of beads and these crushed minerals for ritual purposes, and this has one area for supplying these minerals, and that it's very different from the one for metal objects. So the next steps are doing, of course, fieldwork on the copper ore deposits that are overlapping, that we know that the objects are overlapping there, to increase, of course, the sample for archaeological metal and mineral samples, but also for local copper deposits. We have we don't have enough data of the deposits, but also of the archaeological samples, and of course try to, when we have more data, we will need to find ways to distinguish between lead isotope provinces more in depth than we have now, but we need more data for that. So just to finish or not, I have spoken about what we know about colonial times, about pre-Columbian times, but the area, it's a mining area also. It was a mining area for the recent past and also in the present. We can see here the exploitation of tin, of cassiterite in Minapitquitas. That it's, there are pictures from the National General Archive in Argentina. And this is chareta, that is a fuel, a vegetable, a plant for fuel. There is, and here the people going into the mines, of course. And these are the evidence of more recent work in silver mines and lead mines in the area. And of course, the gold activity continues in a very low scale in the present times. Many people from this area know how to wash the gold, to do placer mining, and they have even a contest in January during the rainy season to see who is the one who obtained more gold, like washing it. And as it is a very rich ore deposit, a very rich area, nowadays there are a lot of requests for continuing the exploitation of these minerals, especially silver, lead, but also the salt, the borax, and all, and these weir or earth sediments that are very useful for all the technological gadgets. But of course, some groups are against that because they understand that mining activity at this scale is not good for the environment, for the people, for the water, especially for contamination of the water. And also they are, as you can see here, this was in 2014. This is the area here, you can see. This point is the area where we found these reverberatory furnaces for colonial times. Now, the furnaces are still alive, but this is in 2023. So the impact of these mining activities is very it's very big for the landscape. And sometimes, as is in this case, the company does its jobs, because they respect the law and they do the archaeological and environmental impact analysis, and they are working with the community, they are working with us, preserving the heritage. But in this case, for example, the mine did some progress and started working, and this is one of the colonial towns that was really well preserved, and now part of it was destroyed because it was done without the studies and the control of the state. What we have done with the people and with all the information that we have gathered, not only about mining, but about agriculture, about pottery making, about all what we have studied for pre-Columbian and colonial times, was always working with the community. We have developed along the years several exhibition places or museums. Maybe museum looks so big, but in this area it's an important thing. So first, we at the beginning, as in 2015 and in 2024, with less resources, we did at least some exhibition in some places like for town places. There's like the city hall there. We have shared with the people some of these old pictures of the archive, the historical archive, and we have hung some panels about our activity. And with this community, with Timon Cruz, we have developed a more complex museum, this Museum Timon Cruz, and with the TV, with some audiovisual instruments, and we have also written a book about mining history of this area for like a diffusion, for telling like in a very simple language for people to know about the history of this place linked to mining. And in 2020, and given the activity that SSR Mining, this company, had in the area of the furnaces, that it's Santo Domingo, with the community, with the with the Secretary of Heritage, Provincial Heritage of Jujuy, with the high school there, and ourselves, we started working on also a museum in Santo Domingo. Here we had more money because the mining company had to give money for this kind of cultural activity in the town. So, Silvina Rodriguez Curleto, that she's there. She's an archaeologist, but she's also a museologist, and she works in our team. And so she designed quite a really nice museum for these exhibition panels like this, and it has some thematic like areas that were discussed with the community. We have also carried out some interviews that were recorded for playing in the museum for between with the people in the community and also with the specialists. And the province was in charge of building the museum. The other ones were developed in already built places that were not in use for the community, but in this case, the museum was built with local techniques, and we all together managed to do this museum that was inaugurated last year in 2025, September to 2025. And this is the mining part of the museum. with well, a reproduction of the furnace, the type of tools, and some minerals. And also we took some pictures of the mineral collection here in the archaeometallurgical department for illustrating the minerals. So I thank the Bergbau Museum for letting us doing that. And this was the inauguration in 2025. And as you can see, it's a very small town. It's at 4,200 meters above sea level. So many, not many people live there, but they gather there. People from Bolivia and from other provinces were there for the inauguration. So it was very important for the community. And it was also in local media. It was, there were some news about it. And now the people are also they have these courses for knowing more about heritage, about tourism, because they want to be the guides of these and other museums in the area, and we are working with them and doing some talks to help this process, local process. So, well, vielen Dank.
So thank you so much for that interesting talk. I think in the very last slides you could see how interested the indigenous people are, and how important it is to take them with you, right, in your research. So
well, it's
really great.
It's really good because one of my colleagues was there in one of the talks, and another professor that was saying that these furnaces were made by the Jesuits, these religious companies, and we have always said that it was not the Jesuits, that there were indigenous people that were doing this, and the people were, no, it's not the Jesuits. They knew, and they say, no, you are not saying the truth, we know something else. So they are like, well, learning with us, and we are learning from them. So it's it's a difficult process. Imagine that what I said about the people who are against mining and all the pressure that mining companies also gives to the government, to the people. They offer jobs, but sometimes, you have to find an equilibrium between everything. And so it's not a very easy environment, but at least our experience is very good. And all the team is working for that. So,
yeah, I wonder whether the indigenous people still know much about mining and metallurgy, or is that lost knowledge, or is it still preserved by sort of stories by the ancestors?
Well, what we have seen through the interviews and through talking is that they know how to do placer mining. They know they use it for, to have a bit more money, like when the time comes with the raining season. That's the most, and some have some grandparents that work, or grandfather that they work in the mine, some of these industrial mines. And in some cases, they know that there are some places that are important they could have some treasure. But also it's a challenge to work when some that are local, but especially that they are foreigners. It goes with these metal detectors in the site. So we are having some problems in Timon Cruz. And because of these activities, they have done some very great damage in some part of the site because looking for treasures. So we have a bit of everything.
So it's always a balance between information of people and just educating them that this is really valuable material, that they have to leave it to the scientists.
Exactly, but in general, the ones that do this metal detection are not local. They are coming, or they are some relatives that live in another place and they come and see the opportunity. In general, local people are very respectful of their heritage. Yes. Yes, Hannah?
Are the local groups still mobile? Do they still do pastoralism, or are they mainly residential?
Some of them still do this transhumance pastoral. Yes, they move. They have their houses for the summer and their houses for the winter. In some places, yes, to move the llamas or the sheep. They do not do this very long and distant trade like the movement of caravans, but they do move for summer and winter. Yes, some of them.
So they can give you pointers where to find sites of deposits, sites of camping.
Yes, we work with them, and they are like the best informant for old, ancient places. But it's not easy to ask about the mines because they always have, and I understand them, like the fear that we are going to inform that to a company and that we will do like large scale mining. So it's not the first thing we ask, for sure. We have to establish first a very strong relationship before asking for the mines. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Thank you for your talk. My question is a little bit specific, maybe. I'm interested in these donuts-like stone tools. So, what is the context you found them, and what do you think is their primary function? Because I know examples from Western Asia, Iran, Levante, Sardinia, Spain. They find them in a really specific mining context, but also in metallurgical contexts. And I was always wondering, what is their function? So at first sight, to me, I was wondering, are these hammers, or what? Does it make sense to use the hammer like this?
Yes, they are. In fact, in Spanish, they are called rompeterrones, that it would be like breaking grains of sediments. And they are they are more common in agriculture activities, in sites. We found in museum collections, there are a lot in areas where agriculture was very important. And they were used like hammers. You put the stick in the hole, they're like maces, and they are for breaking the soils when it's hard. In this case, we don't have agricultural activity, and there's a lot of these maces there, and they are in the occupation level of this when the team made the excavations, and they are also in the surface. And we are thinking that it's for like breaking the hard soil, and because what people do now is to go with a shovel and move the sediment and then do this, I don't know how to do, to seize the sediment and to find mechanically the gold in the sediment. So there's a lot of movement of soil everywhere, and people do that. So we believe that they were using this for that, because for agricultural reasons here, it doesn't make any sense.
So like for smaller crushing and vinification works.
Yes, and we haven't found gold. Well, yes, there's some very little gold object, but there's a lot of quartz, and their quartz is linked to gold. So, well, I don't know if for breaking the quartz, I think it would break, but for the sediment, I think they could be useful.
Because it's a lot of effort to produce a hammer like this with this kind of handle.
Yes.
So, but yeah.
Yes. I don't know, maybe these people are used to that because they do it for agriculture in the other parts, and when they go there seasonally, they produce the same for the sediments, but yes.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I wonder, could you give a rough estimate for the lead isotope reference data of Leckman and McFarlane? So you showed that the stones are really huge. So how many data sets are behind those? Just rough, I mean, like 10, 100,000?
No, I think for, good question. For Argentina, at least there are 200 something analysis, but they are from 20 something mines, and only 11 are for copper. The others are galena, this silver, lead, and zinc deposits. And for, I don't know if I have it here, but just let me check. No, sorry. These the methods here. Oh, I thought I would be able to see, but this is with Chile. I think it was, yes, 322 analysis. But for Bolivia and Peru, they are quite more or less the same or more, so it would be maybe 1,000, yes, in total. Analysis, no, it's not the mines. It's quite few, I think, comparing to what you have in other areas, like 3,200 something for Europe or more.
But as you had demonstrated, this is really hard work to gather any of the ore pieces from that.
It's very difficult. Yes, very well.
So it's not an easy landscape.
No, not at all.
And very high. I see that. Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your attention and for coming here.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I just want to remind you, we have the workshop on the 28th, so from 10 to 4. So if you'd like to participate, welcome. You're welcome to do so. So it would be very interesting, I guess, because what we could see from the lectures, it's very promising. So I think we can all learn a lot from you. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
So we have a small reception as last week, so please feel free to have a sip with Maria and all the other people.